So in this last section of chapter 7, we're going to be taking what we know about systems and also about linear inequalities and sort of put it together. And we're going to take a look at how systems of 2 linear inequalities or 3 linear inequalities look like. So first I wanted to take a few minutes and remind you how to graph inequality, and we'll learn this in chapter 6. So remember that we had dashed and solid lines. So the first thing I want you to do is think about whether it's dashed or solid. So in this case, there is no equal sign, so this one's going to be dashed and this one's going to be solid. And then you're going to be graphing the line itself. So this is already in slope-intercept form, where -4 is your y-intercept. And then our slope is -4. So remember, negative slope means that your line should look like this. We don't actually have enough boxes to go down and right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go up 4 and left 1. You always want to make sure that your line looks like it has a negative slope, which it will. So it's going to be a dashed line. And then you do have to shade, and we either going to shade above or below. And in this particular case, y is less than. So here's my y-axis. So to be less than the y values on the line, we have to be below. So we want to be here. So our solution is going to look like this. So all of these points that are in the yellow region will be solutions, and all the points in this white region are not going to be the solutions. For number 2, I specifically put this problem on here because a lot of you get confused when you don't see a number added here. If it's -3/4x, the y-intercept is 0, that's why you don't see a number here. So don't get confused with that. So here's the y-intercept, and your slope is -3/4. So you are going to go down 3/4. And I'm also going to go up 3, left 4. And it is a solid line. So I'm just going to use, there you go. And we do need to shade. So for the shading, we have y being less than or equal to, so we want the y to be less than, so smaller, so it's everything below. So that's what, so all of the points again here, and also all the points on the line will be solutions, and all the points in the white region will not be the solutions. Okay, so a few more examples for you. In number 3, the difference is now that it's in standard form, so we do have to rearrange it and get the y to be all by itself. So I'm going to do some work here. One thing to remember is that with inequalities, if you divide both sides by a negative, we did have to flip our inequality sign, and I'm flipping too early. So it's -6x plus 10, and then we have to divide everything by -5. And as soon as you realize that you're dividing by a negative number, you have to remember that we will have to flip the inequality sign. So this is what our equation is going to look like. So now that it's in slope-intercept form, we realize that it's a solid line. We have a -2, and we go up 6/5. And it's a solid line, so I'm going to just use this right here. Okay. Now one thing we need to do is we need to decide where to shade. So in this case, y is less than. So we look at the y-axis and we're looking for the smaller numbers, which are down below. So we're going to shade in everything here. Okay. So for number 4, these are vertical and horizontal lines. You do have to know how to graph these, so make sure that you review this. Both of these are dashed lines. Y being greater than -1 means you want to go on the y-axis and find your -1. Y is going to stay as -1. So we're going to be horizontally. And we need to shade all the y values that are greater than -1. So if you think about your axis, it's all of these values that are greater, right, because they're getting bigger. So our answer, or the solution, is going to be all this entire region. Okay, so for the next one, we have x is less than -1. So I have to find -1 now on the x-axis. So here it is. and x always has to be -1, so it will be a vertical line going up and down. And then for shading, we're looking for the x values that are smaller than -1, so I'm going to go back to my x-axis. Here are the smaller values. And that's what it's going to look like. Okay, so now we're ready to put several inequalities on the graph. So let's take a look at example 1. Okay, so I'm going to use different colors here. My first line has a dashed border line. The y-intercept is -2. My slope is -1. Okay, so here's my dashed line, and I would be shading everything above it. So I'm not ready for my answer yet, so I'm just gonna do this. So I know that it's gonna be above. And then I'm gonna graph my second line. My y-intercept is +6. My slope is +3. I can't go up and left, so I'm gonna go down and left. Sorry, I can't go up and right. So I'm going to go up and left. Slope is positive, so make sure it looks like it has a positive slope. Now remember it before, when we looked at solutions, it was just the intersection. Now we have a whole region of answers. So we are going to have a solid line. And then for this one, y is going to be less than, so it's over here. So if you think about everything being shaded, it's all the points to the right here and all the points up here. So the region that you're actually going to get is going to be, I'm doing a bad job here, but it's this right here. And I'm going to show you how to check your answer. Okay. So it's everything above this line and everything to the right of this line. So how are we going to check? So for checking, what you want to do is you just want to choose a point in the region that you selected. So in this case, it's going to be, I'll use 4, 3. You can use any point you like. It should work for both of our inequalities. So we're going to go back to the original. We always go back to the original. And we ask ourselves, is 3 greater than -6? And it is, so that's good. And then we're going to check the second inequality. So 3 has to be less than or equal to 12, so 4 times 3, plus 6. That is definitely true, so this looks great. So one of my solutions, and there's many, there's all these points here, works for both inequalities, so you know for sure that it is the correct answer. Here's example 2. You gotta do a little bit more work because there's standard form here, but it's okay. First, I'm going to graph y greater than or equal to -1. It is a solid line. And I will be shading above. So I'm just gonna do this. My second line is x is greater than -2. So here is my -2. And it is a dashed line because there's no equal sign. And I want x's to be greater than -2, so I'm going to go to the right here. So right now it's over here, so this is the region that we get. But we have a third line that needs to be rearranged, and it needs to be in slope-intercept form. So you need to do a little bit of work. And you get y is less than or equal to -1/2x plus 2. I'm actually going to use a green here. So 2 is my y-intercept. My slope is -1/2. It's a solid line. And I'm actually going to extend this one so we could properly graph. And it's everything less than that. So it's going to be everything less. So look what's happening. So it's everything above y equals -1, everything to the right of this dashed line here, and everything below. So what's happening is this little triangle. That's what's going to be the answer. So here you go. So what we're going to do is, of course, we're going to check, because we always want to be sure. The easiest point to pick here is going to be 0, 0, because it's inside your triangle. So as a check, we're going to use 0, 0. So is 0 greater than or equal to -1? Yes, it is. Is 0 greater than -2? Yes, it is. Is 0 plus 0 going to be less than or equal to 4? Yes, it works. So this point works for all three inequalities, so you can be sure that it is correct. Now, last thing we need to know is, how do you create your own system of inequalities by looking at a picture? So we have two graphs here, and the first thing you need to do is you need to find equations for the two lines. So I'm going to start here. So 1, 2, 3. Y is always going to be 3, so that's my equation for this line right here. This right here has a positive slope. I'm going to start with the y-intercept. So my y-intercept is 1, so I know it's going to be +1. My slope is +2 because I go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. So there we go. Now my system has to have inequalities. So we have to decide whether we use greater, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So that's going to be the hard part. So first, let's start here. First of all, this line right here is dashed, right? And look at the solution side. It's everything above that line. So y needs to be greater, because we chose y as being greater. And then for this one, we shaded above, and it's solid, so it's greater than or equal to. So that is your system here. That's your answer. I wanted to do a couple more with you because I think it's a little tricky. So let's do this again. This right here, the line is, okay, so first of all, here's our 0, 0. Okay, so this line right here is x is equal to 0. This right here is x is equal to 3. This line right here is going to be y is equal to, our slope is up 2 over 3, so up 2 over 3, so 2, 3x minus 1. So then we have to decide what's going on with all the inequality symbols. So here's my first, here's my second, and here's my third. Okay, so we're going to color code. So here's our first line right here. We chose all the y's greater above, and the line is solid, so I do not need the equal sign. Then I chose, oh, this is super confusing. Okay, so actually this right here is not part of your solution, so I apologize, because they're just made it darker because it's the axis. And you know that it's not part of the solution because there is nothing, the shading doesn't stop to the right or to the left, so we just have to. It's a little easier. So over here we shaded everything to the left, which means that we chose all the x's less than, and the line is solid, so we do need the equal sign. So that's our system of two equations right here. Over here we have two lines. We have x is equal to 2, and we have y is equal to 4. So the first thing we're going to do is this one. So x is to the left of 2 because we chose everything smaller than 2, and the line is dashed, so we didn't have to include the equal sign. And then for this one we have y, and it's below the 4, so we chose everything smaller than 4, and the line is solid, so we do need the equal sign. So this is going to be our system. So that's it for the lesson, and we'll practice more later.